Hi, and welcome to my presentation on the role of autonomic stress adaptability during a challenging cognitive task in preschool children. Here's the contents of my presentation. During a challenging task, the autonomic nervous system is responsible for a physiological reaction to help adapt the body to the situational demands so that optimal performance can occur. However, according to the neurovisceral model of integration, anxious individuals, when presented with the same challenging task, present a blunted autonomic nervous system response which leads to reduced cognitive functioning. The autonomic nervous system is comprised of three main branches. The two branches I'm going to talk about today are the SNS and the PNS. The SNS, or the sympathetic nervous system, is responsible for the fight or flight functions in the body, while the PNS is responsible for the parasympathetic nervous system is responsible for the rest and digest functions. In a normally functioning individual, one should be able to fluctuate easily between the SNS and the PNS, resulting in high heart rate variability. As you can see in this graph, the high heart rate variability section of this graph, there are variation in milliseconds between these R peaks. This allows one to adapt properly to the situation as they are able to fluctuate between the SNS and the PNS functions. However, in someone who has low heart rate variability, as you can see, there is not very much variation in milliseconds between these R peaks. This means that they are not able to fluctuate easily between the two. So in my study, anxious individuals that are presented with a challenging task present a blunted autonomic nervous system response indicative of a lower heart rate variability and a less change in heart rate variability, which leads to reduced cognitive functioning. My first aim is to investigate if elevated levels of anxiety are associated with lower baseline heart rate variability, lesser change in heart rate variability, and lower IQ test scores. In my second aim, I'm going to see if baseline heart rate variability, change in heart rate variability moderate this relationship between anxiety and full-scale IQ test scores. You may ask why I chose a moderator analysis rather than a mediation analysis, and the answer is that it's more consistent with previous research, and so the results will be more comparable. In aim 3, I then am going to see if child sex moderates the same relationship between anxiety and full-scale IQ test scores. For the participants, we used children ages 3 to 4 or in the preschool category from the apron cohort. There we used, for the anxiety measure, we used the BASC, which is a parent-reported measure, and for the full-scale IQ composite score, we used the WIPSI 4th edition, and both of these are reliable and valid ways of testing these measures in this age group. For the heart rate variability component, this was a component I was the most involved in, as I was hired to be an inter-rater reliability person for the editing and segmenting of this data for my own project and also my colleagues' project. The heart period recordings were recorded on continuous heart period recordings of R-to-R intervals, and heart rate variability was measured once at baseline and once during the full-scale IQ assessments, and the difference was taken between the two to calculate the change. These were the statistics that were involved, and we found in aim 1 that females showed a significant positive correlation between full-scale IQ test scores and anxiety, but we did not find any correlation between anxious individuals' change in heart rate variability, baseline heart rate variability, and full-scale IQ test scores. In aim 2, we did not find that baseline and change in heart rate variability were moderators of the relationship between anxiety and full-scale IQ test scores, and we did, however, find that child sex was a moderator of the relationship between anxiety and full-scale IQ test scores. So, in conclusion, we found that females with higher anxiety performed better on full-scale IQ assessments. This could be due to the fact that moderate levels of anxiety could increase test performance in females based on the Yerkes-Dodson theory of arousal, which basically states that optimal performance occurs when arousal is moderate. But this lack of evidence regarding the physiological arousal refutes the model of neurovisceral integration, which is a long-standing theory in the literature, which I think is very interesting considering our population was quite large. For the future directions, I am hoping to finish analyzing the heart rate variability data, find better ways to quantify child anxiety rather than using a parent-reported measure, and further investigate into differences in child sex with respect to anxiety levels and full-scale IQ test performance. Here are the contributors, here are my references, and thank you so much for watching.